Should open it up before, but it's all right. All right. So this is not a sexy topic, but it's a topic that everyone deals with. And there's two frames of mind. And let me fix my screen on my side, and I'll get you guys going. There's really two frames of mind on this. I see it many times when individuals travel or get out of sync, they just let everything go to the wayside. Well, obviously we want to give you the tools and understanding of, hey, you do have 100%, not 100% control, but you can control what you can control. So if we're able to keep you 80%, that's always going to be a win for you, specifically in some of these scenarios. So eating out, travel strategies, really we want to kind of keep you inside the guardrails when you're outside your routine, social events, uh, without guilt and there's always going to be a balance. We're not always perfect. We overconsume sometimes, just like anybody else. We're normal. It's just sometimes you got to pick and choose those battles, and where you at within your journey. So I will tell you this: when you get to the goals or lower percentage, excuse me, lower percentage of body fat or your ultimate goal, it's a lot easier to maintain, and you have a lot more flexibility within your eating patterns. So, uh, with that said, I'm gonna let a couple more people in here. We'll go ahead and get into the topics. Really, the challenge that we see is when people are in a different environment, they fall off routines, right? So what they may do is make decisions that they're not accustomed to. So when they're traveling, dining out, unplanned meals, it's really a reactive decision. But again, what we try to reinforce with you guys is you still have an option to make a better decision, even in those situations. It's not always perfect. We've been in some interesting, conferences and things of that nature, and or when we were traveling, specifically driving. If you're going through specific areas, there may not be, a lot of better options available. But again, you can always make or stay in between the guardrails and make the best option you have. So what we see with that is like if people are skipping meals and then maybe overeating or over consuming vacation or special occasions, it's really a mindset component. Again, you want to have some flexibility and enjoy, but many times, like I said in the beginning, and it's almost like a rite of passage. And then when a person's on vacation or a special occasion, they typically overconsume way too much. There's a balance there because again, if you have one evening where you overconsume too much, typically you can get back on track and have a break even and level that back out in a few days. Now, it's when you do it a multitude of times, it's going to take you a whole week of overconsuming to put weight back on, just like it takes you a whole week to take the weight off. But I will say it's easier to put the weight on because it's easier to overconsume. It's harder to burn all the calories off. So it just is what it is. Again, peer pressure, social expectations. You have to navigate the situation. And some of my guys, I'm like, I say, hey, just to be transparent with, because some of the guys will be in situations where there's a lot of alcohol being consumed in, or that environment of business, which it doesn't have to be, but it is what it is. And I always tell them, hey, just let those guys know, hey, I'm on a health journey. This is how I'm showing up, and this is what I'm doing now. Many times, many times, not all the time, the person will understand and say, okay, yeah, no, I get it. Makes sense. Good for you. Sometimes you will have those individuals who, are lacking their own self-esteem, say negative components, but we'll just, it is what it is. Many times that's the other individual's issue, not yours. They have more of the problem than you do. But uh, so lack of quick or go-to meal options. We're going to go through that and give you some scenarios. So really, this is a mindset shift. You're just going to be in a different environment. So it's how you respond in a different environment. How can you make better decisions in a different environment when you're on your specific journey? So again, you're going to hear this as a repeating mechanism, but if you can anchor the day with protein, that's going to be a win in many situations, depending on where you're at and what's going on. So you could start your day with, a protein egg, Greek yogurt, protein shake, any of those components if you have them available. Another thing, specifically when traveling, hydration really gets disrupted. Uh, obviously, if you're in a car, that's a hard one. Same thing when when you fly, the altitude component, you really want to make sure you're consuming, post, pre. If you don't want to consume too much, you don't have to go to the bathroom all the time. Obviously, it's an inconvenience. But once you get to your destination, really think about rehydrating. If you need to use a, electrolyte or take electrolyte with you, again, half your body weight in ounces is just a good marker point to go after. And then what you can do when you're traveling, there's a couple different scenarios. So some of the non-negotiables you have to build in. What are you willing to put it as part of what you always do, no matter what environment you're in? Is it, hey, I'm going to still hit my 10,000 steps? Am I going to prioritize sleep? Am I going to hit my protein each meal? Again, you have the choice on what makes the most sense to you. Excuse me. Um, Now, for our instant, when Aaron and I travel, even if it's a business travel, we still try to keep on a lifting routine if we can. Um, as far as food goes, again, pick and choose the battles on that, making sure we just don't push outside the boundaries too heavy. Sleep is always an issue traveling because you're in a different environment, different bed. How's the lighting? One thing we've always done when we travel, because we actually use noise machines we've had for years because we live in inner city. Is your phone has a noise machine on it where if you're accustomed to using that, you probably want to make sure you're traveling with that and have that as part of your app because that helps with sleep disruption as well. So obviously, restaurants are always a questions we get, and I'm going to give you some examples. Again, don't kill me if the AI is off, but we do have the ability to play around with AI in your macros, and I'll once I go through this screen, I'll walk you through it if you guys want to use it and play around with it. Again, AI is great. It just you have to really manipulate AI to get a better response. So many times, the better information we give it, the better response it will give us. But I'll tell you how to do that here in a second. So restaurants, when we think about that, you can always check menus, online because that's available most times. And some restaurants give you a breakdown of the macros already, which is great. Then that gives you more a better educational decision, and you can go into that scenario already knowing what you're going to order. If not, we want to always build what's the protein, okay, product, portion. What does all that look like? Does it fit what your palate, whether it's chicken, whether it's beef, whether it's fish. What you can also do is if the food is not going to be inside, it's going to be less healthy than you like, you can always have a small protein snack shake before you go and then minimize the calorie consumption while you're there. That's another, and I've done that many a times, knowing going into a situation where I'm like, oh, I'll just pick around at the food. Uh, and that was more of a social setting and not necessarily a restaurant setting. It was like events that we went to. So again, what you can do in the restaurant, and these are simple strategies. I use them, anytime we eat out here locally or if we travel. Uh, Aaron and I have not been to a a uh, a fast food um, dining experience in probably about 12 years, probably more than that. We just don't go to those restaurants. We try to obviously if we had to. I know we've taken the kids a couple times, but we typically don't go that route. We find other routes more of sit down. Maybe they have better options in food. We just kind of negated that out of our lifestyle. But if you're in a restaurant, and I do this, what you could do is look at doubling down on your protein. Veggies always instead of fries. If you're going to do the fries, you have to have discipline because those things add up fairly quickly. I typically don't order them, so what I'll do is I'll pull the fries and get a salad in its place or some type of veggie in its place. I'll double on the protein if I can, and then I will also look to pull off if it's a burger, I'll pull off the bun. I'll just eat the meat portion, maybe the veggies with that. So they're just those small, minute adjustments can compound. That's what you gotta look at the battles because if you do that on a consistent basis when you're traveling or when you're outside your norm, many times you can stay within the boundaries of your calories and feel okay with it. So what we really wanted to avoid is all or nothing mindset. I just talked about that in the beginning because I've seen it both ways where it's like, hey, I'm outside my environment. Let's just overconsume. And is that really what you truly want to do? Because that sounds like a rough battle. Because then you'll come back and there will be a guilt response, and then starting over it's insanity, right? If you could consistently start over every Monday, that's a tough route as well. Again, we don't have to be perfect. We just need to be better. We have to keep you guys inside the the guardrails. Yeah, 80%. If we can, 70, 80% really when you're traveling, we can really with keep you in a phase where it's not going to obviously really throw you off. And making up for it makes it a lot easier. So here's a mindset phrase. I'm here to enjoy, connect, not over consume, right? It's because many times we build it up around maybe the food and negate the experience and the relationships that you could have being connected with other individuals instead of about the food. Obviously, there's a component where, yes, a good meal goes a long way, but a good meal doesn't have to derail you from your goals. So now I'm going to talk about this a little bit. I'll have to go find a video if I might have to cut one or I have to shoot one myself. Uh, so the AI does have an option if you guys are at a restaurant, just like the backslash meal help with a picture. What you guys can do is backslash help with a picture of the menu. Then you have to put a good description of, hey, I'm at this restaurant. What makes the most sense based upon my macros consumed today for me to eat for dinner or lunch? So you have to put a good description, but instead of meal help, it's just backslash help with a picture of the menu and a really good description of what you want AI to give you. And it will go in your app as long as you have already filled out some of that day's macros. So if you've already data entered some of your consumption, it will go inside the app, identify what you've already consumed, so protein, fat, carbs, calorie total, and give you its best estimation of what you should consume at that meal to keep you inside your macro base. So you guys could play around with it. It's there if you want.
Is
Again,
that so like in where we used to do meal help
yeah,
then? Like,
yep, same. So this app has a lot more AI that I have not given you guys because again, they continue to try to make it better on the brain of it, the platform of it, because there's other things that you guys can do in, with the backslash analyze. You can take a picture of your exercise movement, upload it in there, and say backslash analyze. It'll give you a breakdown of how well how well it thinks you're doing the technique that you recorded. I played around with it. It's okay. It has to be a good video because sometimes what it'll do is it'll think you're doing a different exercise. So there is some discrepancy. But yes, it's the backslash, just like meal help instead is help. Then you just have to give it a good description of what you want the AI to do with your macros in the picture. So again, if it's a picture of the menu, just say, hey, give me the best meal to keep me within my macro goal for today, and it'll spit out some stuff. You may have to manipulate a little bit, but it's there. So if you try it, play around with it. Again, I've been using AI probably 4 years now, and it's just the better you manipulate, the better it gets. And again, the software we're using, they continue to try to update it, but there is some nuances. They just had an update, and you guys have probably seen this, is when you do take a picture and upload it right now, it tries to break everything out in macro base. And I know we were having some discrepancy with that. Hopefully they'll line that back out. Again, social events, again, these could be um, a little bit more, depending on if it's work, depending on if it's work based, after hours, things like that. And again, I said, hey, let's rethink the thought process. Why are we here? Uh, Connection, not overconsumption. So it's going to be the same things, that kind of the same concepts that I talked about. Eat protein snacks before arriving. You can use portion as a big tool, specifically if you don't have better quality food. Again, half portion, you know, you could really cut down the amount of food you're consuming and help you stay within your calorie ranges. And that's always a thing. If you do dessert, again, dessert can fit in with your macros as long as you're hitting all the other marker points or you're close enough with your marker points. Where your dessert, many times, interesting part is you have two different uh, ways that restaurants or places serve dessert. Sometimes they're just ginormous. You're like, what is this real? And then other places serve, small little portions. You just have to be disciplined enough, specifically if you're going to have a dessert, to make sure it doesn't punch you too high over your macros. And if it's a large portion, you got to be disciplined to eat a couple bites and get rid of it, move it on. Again, you don't have to always take dessert home. You just don't have to. It's one of those things. Um, Again, sometimes what we see, guilt comes from chaos or overconsumption, not by one choice. You know, if we overconsume a little bit, we got to get you right back into the rhythmic pattern. So when you travel and we do a lot of these concepts, the better prepared you are, it just gives you a little bit more freedom to navigate the situation and navigate the trip a little easier. So, a good checklist is, hey, do you have like protein powders, bars, or RTDs ready to drink available? And again, most gas stations and most uh, airports have done a really better job of having access to all these things that I'm getting ready to go through. Do you carry water with you? We always do. We always carry, our kids do as well. Do you need some electrolytes? So you may carry a packet of electrolytes with you, specifically, when you fly. That's a big deal. But the problem we see with, if we dehydrate ourselves a little bit, obviously it messes up our whole digestion, and that's not fun at all. So if we can keep you rhythmic on that as well, that's a big deal. So jerky, nuts, fruit are all really good to have and carry with you. Some shaker bottles, utensils, things like that. We always we'll throw some of those beef sticks, maybe have some nuts, maybe have some fruit for the kids um, in our bags. So we have options, but obviously not a fresh fruit. It can be in a different format. So if you have to eat in airports could be a little bit tricky because quality food, depending on the airport, quality food can go down. But again, make the best decision for you. Salads or sandwiches, if you can skip the fast food. If you do fast food, go after, you want to get rid of the bun. Just try not to do the fries. You, it's harder to double down on the meat because they'll charge you out the wazoo with a fast food place. So, you can go more of a grilled chicken, something like that, grilled chicken sandwich with maybe a baked potato if they have it available. So those, I'm just giving you some strategies. And then always think of, okay, what's the protein going to look like? How much protein can I get within this setting? And then if at airports, movement's going to be key. If you can get some walking in, it's going to keep you in a better rhythmic pattern. Drink, try to stay hydrated as much as possible. Again, that could be a little tricky depending on if you're in a car. Obviously, when you're flying, you don't want to consume too much. Then, it's inconvenient to go to the restroom. It's not that easy all the time. Here's some things that we do, uh, as far as hotel habits when you stay in hotels and different hotels. Make sure you stock up on your protein snacks. Use the mini fridge if they have it, right? So uh, you can always go to and again, some of the hotels have done a better job having some of these things accessible, right? That are higher protein, better quality. If not, what you can do is run to a convenient store. And we used to do that all the time when we travel, but some of the hotels have gotten better mainly because having access to good water was always an issue in some hotels because they would like give you a bottled water or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I consume like 10 of these in a day. So we're gonna have some issues here. So we would always stop by a local convenience store and get big couple gallon jugs of water. And that was always our routine. And we'd pick up some protein sources and things of that nature to have in the room. Depending on the level of hotel you stay at, obviously there's going to be a multitude of options for food. So again, Greek yogurt and fruit, that you can never go wrong with that. Obviously eggs or oats. Again, some of the quality is not going to be as good, but if you can still get some of that protein source in, rotisserie chicken and salad. And we've done this as well, where we went to, a local grocery store and grabbed some rotisserie chicken and some pre-mixed salad bags, and we put it in our mini fridge. And then we had that, obviously for more of a lunch type thing in a hotel, just based upon the options we had. Again, it's just a workaround. If you can keep on your protein every 45 hours, it's great. But if you can't, you just have to do what you can do. And the reason I say that, again, it helps stabilize your insulin response. So, and this is what happens again when things don't go as planned. It's not always going to go as planned. There's situations, delays, um, or where you stay is just not conducive, for some of these things I'm talking about, and you may just have to make some minor adjustments. If you do miss a meal or overeat, again, control what you can control. Try to stay hydrated. Try to get your steps or movement in. You want to try to get back on track as fast as possible. The biggest thing, and again, I have to reiterate, is one day is not going to ruin everything. 5 days is going to set you back. And that's where people get in a little bit of trouble, if they just totally um, negate everything that they could be doing to stay within the guardrails and not do too much damage. And you know, over consuming a multitude of days is going to put weight on, just like we keep in a calorie deficit for multitude of days, it's going to take weight off. So again, it takes just as long, not always, because it's easier to consume more calories, but it has to be a compounding component for you to really mess everything up. Again, consistency. We don't need perfection. Win the day, not the trip, because again, uh, and portions of it you're going to overconsume or be outside the ranges, which is fine. Again, if you're outside the ranges of calories, try to keep your movement in. Maybe you keep your workouts in place, because that's another thing is 99% of the time we travel, even last summer we went in a very remote location in the Bahamas, which was interesting of even getting food. Great trip, but we brought our jump stretch bands, those big bands, and they're big to small. So, and I have TRX, so I put and handles as well, and I put all that in my backpack actually in the carry-on, and that's what we still trained 3 days out of the seven. And the other days we were pretty active, but we got 3 good lifting days in to kind of keep us on routine. Was it perfect? No, but as long as you get some tension on the muscle, you can keep that adaptation going, even if it's not a true 100% progressive overload program. So you really want to return home and control. You don't want to have to restart over. Now, if it's up a little bit, it's a break even, it's a win-win, keep moving. Again, discipline is what aligns with your goals, even when an environment changes. That's a big thing is when people don't realize it, is when it gets outside their normal environment, the thought process changes, which it doesn't necessarily have to, because we're giving you so many of these tools to utilize, even it doesn't matter what environment it's in. So that way you have the power to make a better decision. Again, eating out 40 million protein, what is it? How much? The hotels, you want to pack, prep, and prioritize it. That can be tricky. Just depends on the type of hotel. Because again, you can have a more expensive hotel, and they're going to have more options for you. You can have certain hotels that have minimal to no options, and that's where you just have to navigate that best upon the situation. Awareness, choice, alignment. Again, it goes back to who you becoming now that make the decisions to ultimately hit your goal. You know, and the mindset is a big component because so many times we have programs running in the background that, hey, if we're out of an environment, we're just gonna act like we've never seen the food before. We're just gonna overconsume, and that's probably gonna get you feeling guilty and not so good. So there's a balance there. Again, the major takeaways, you don't need to control everything because you have, or we're empowering you to have a skill set with consistency and maneuvering situations better. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So, you know, again, we get you up to 70, 80%, we're good. When your habits are flexible, you're never off plan because you have options, right? Again, success on the road is not about restrictions. It's about ownership. What are you going to do to control the environment to make a better decision? I mean, that's what it ultimately comes back to. So that was excuse me, the last slide I had. I know some of these topics, I hit this, I don't know, probably about a year ago because I coach a lot of guys who are on the road a lot, and the road can be very disruptive for many people. And so we try to make it as simple as possible and give you as much tools as possible to navigate travel. And I don't know, obviously each individual situation, but it, you know, if a person's on the road a couple of days a week, they really have to change and plan because if they don't, they'll consistently do the habits that may not be good for them to move forward. So what happens is once they get out on the road, they typically overconsume, messes up their sleep, messes up their hydration. They get off schedule with the workouts, and then they get frustrated, and then they want to quit. And I've had to navigate situations with guys like that. I'm like, hey, you got to kind of protect your and have boundaries. Try to protect your sleep as much as possible, especially when you're on the road, because that can be very disruptive. When sleep gets disruptive, overconsumption is the next thing that comes into play. Just you're chasing energy, and when you're chasing energy, your ability to make better decisions typically fall off. And then if you don't have some of the protein and things available for quick grabs, and you go extended period of time without Consumption, again, your ability to make a better decision or your overconsumption is very high. So, with that said, I'm going to stop the share, open it up, see what other questions you guys may have for me. All right. Any any specific questions about the topic?
No, I think so we usually travel at least twice a year. Typically we go to like all-inclusive resorts like at Mexico, things like that, and we just got back from one just right before I started working with Aaron. And it was actually probably my and I had like started being more conscientious of like what I was eating prior to starting to work with Aaron because I knew that like I knew it was something I needed to work on. And this last trip, I really tried to focus on like for breakfast, I'd get like an omelet with veggies and eat like breakfast, fruit for breakfast kind of a thing, right? I wasn't eating waffles, pancakes, pastries, all the things
Yeah.
that I probably wanted
Dessert?
to eat.
Dessert for breakfast, right?
Yeah, and so I really focused on like that for my breakfast, and then I'll be honest, one of my and I've been this way for um probably the last 10 years since we really started traveling every couple times a year. I always work out. Like that is a non-negotiable for me.
Mhm.
I always work out in the morning before breakfast and then always make sure I get at least 10,000 steps, which if you're at a place like that, for me, I don't drink alcohol, so I'm drinking bottles of water like nobody's business all day long. So like you get literally enough steps just walking back and forth to the bathroom all day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um but I really was a lot more mindful in what I ate. And it was like the first vacation I came home that I stepped on the scale and I wasn't like pissed at myself because I just like ate all the things. Like, and I did enjoy what I ate. Like I did have dessert some nights and whatever, but I just would try to eat like a couple bites of it and like that was enough. Even though when you go to like an all-inclusive resort and they have the a la carte restaurants where you have a menu, not the buffet, but their portions are like more of what we should get in like they're small, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes I think like, man, I could eat like 3 plates of this, right? And so when you do get a dessert, it's like just a small amount. It's not like half the cake, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that's kind of nice about like that. I don't know if you'd call it that culture, but that environment is that they always offer, I feel like smaller portions, but they never give enough vegetables. That's the one thing I would gripe about is like they'll give you like 3 pieces of broccoli and I'm over here like, can I get more vegetables? Like this is not enough for me to like fill up with my normal vegetable intake,
Yeah.
so it's hard though. I mean, it's hard to not want to just eat all the things. So you do definitely have to like try to be more conscientious and rein it in.
Mhm. There's so much marketing into those all inclusives. And then so what happens with so many people is that they got to get their money's worth, right?
Well, a lot do. I'm not like that. I
No,
mean,
I
they're not,
know,
they're
I
making their
know.
money off of me because I don't drink, so they're already,
Yep.
Um, but no, for sure. I mean, because I mean, you have those buffets, and you can go to the buffets and eat all day long if you want to, right? I'm not like I've never been like a person that likes to consume a crazy amount of food. That's just, I mean, and that's not a bad or good thing, whatever. But um, yeah, but even like lunchtime, I'm always like, okay, where can I find? I'm not eating a burger and fries for lunch. Like, what can I find? And I found like a chicken wrap or something. And then
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
chips or fries with it, I got like a
Yeah.
salad, like it's just trying to like balance it all out. Like, because I know how much better I feel
Yep.
when I
100%.
do eat well. I don't like eat all this food and then I'm just like, oh shit, I shouldn't have ate that much. Now I
Yeah.
feel overly full.
Yep. Yeah, no, there's a balance, 100%. And in those situations, you just have to go with the right mindset. And there, um, because some people are, you're, I'm like you. I don't like to overconsume because I don't like the feeling. I never have. I've never been a big eater at a setting, but obviously I will consume, every so often because I get hungry because I just don't overconsume at one setting. I get that. I've never been a big buffet person. Like because I go one round, I'm done. And, you know, it's just how I feel. I feel really good if I get enough food and not too much. Um, and
Yeah.
then there's just such much the psychology of it. That's where people, I mean, there's so much of a mindset component in psychology in the all inclusives to have you just have to go in with a better plan and be able to navigate and come on the outside and feel okay about it. Like it's a win-win instead of a negative component.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it's always important to I think that I try to eat where I feel content before I get to the point that I'm like so full I have a stomach ache and I'm
Yeah.
uncomfortable kind of a
Yeah.
thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's like that fine balance of like I don't eat pasta usually, but it's like eating a bowl of pasta and at the moment you think you're still hungry, so then you eat the second bowl of pasta and then you're like, "Oh, I really should have only ate one bowl of pasta." You
Yeah.
know?
Yep. Yep.
I find it's hard to
Agreed.
balance between the like all or nothing mindset. You know, it's like you go in, like, I'm going to be so good, or you go in and I'm not going to care. And
Mm.
it's hard to find a middle ground for me. Like you were talking about, get your money's worth. I mean, I was on a biking cruise with my mother a
Yep.
few years ago, and I gained like, I think it was 7 pounds.
Hey,
And then I'm still, I finally this month have lost those.
I got you.
I
Yep.
mean, but it's like it's like, yeah, you want to try everything. And I mean, well, I may not have been, I'm also of a product of clean your plate
Hmm.
childhood.
Hmm.
So I mean, all those things, it's so hard to change your mindset of it's okay to not clean your plate. And I
Yeah.
mean, I still have a hard time with that at rest. I mean, I got to take home my leftovers, of course. If I don't eat everything, I mean, I'm not wasting all that food and all that money. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, I don't know how to get out of that mentality.
Yeah. Now you just continue to work on it. Who you becoming? And Vikings supposed to have really good food.
Oh, it was fantastic. And
Uh,
I ate all of it. Trust me.
so in those situations, obviously, if you can keep the portions down, and it is what it is, if there's leftovers that go to the wayside, that yeah, you have to be okay with sometimes that's going to happen. We had to get a lot better with that once we had kids.
Yeah.
Because if we take them out to eat, it's like it's brutal. Then I try to bring it home, and then they never eat it, so it gets thrown away. So yeah, you really have to have that mindset shift of, hey, this is going to be a balance of, hey, I'm going to have some, and it is what it is. I'm not, if there's leftovers that I can't consume, you can obviously bring them home and eat them the next day. There's nothing wrong with that. If Aaron and I, if we go on a date night, that happens quite often. Just based upon the restaurant, some of them just give too much. So, if there's products that we bring home and obviously consume the next day. That way we spread it out.
And I do try to do that with like, even if I'm just ordering cluster truck or something, I try to only eat half of my meal so that it's not.
Yeah, yeah, because
If
even
I like,
yeah,
I had
even
the new Yum Yum Hibachi bowl. Oh my God, it's really good.
yeah, because even cluster truck, yeah, the portion size is pretty heavy, and
Yeah.
you're okay with like splitting that up.
Yeah. Which
I
It's
I
was
thought
like,
the hibachi bowl was going to be a lot worse than it was, but just eating half of it, I'm like, oh, that actually isn't too bad. And it had a lot of chicken on it. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's
this,
good.
yeah.
That's good.
I was like recently listening to, or maybe I saw it on Instagram. I don't know, where it talks about like we get this mentality that like this is going to be our last meal. Like we're never going to get to have this again, right? Like this I don't know what it is. Like I like sweets, right? So I try to not have sweets in the house because then if I see it, I want it. But yeah, at the same time, it's like you should almost allow yourself to have those things once in a while so that when you are around them, then you're not just like, ooh, I gotta have all of it. And then you just keep wanting more, like it's this mindset of like, this is the last time I'm gonna get to have this, like this famine kind of mindset. And I found it really interesting because I really had never thought of it like that before.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously we're impacted very, very much by the programs that are running based upon our experience as kids, and those are programs. What I'm saying is your unconscious mind, your thought process will goes after those situations based upon what you're exposed to as a child. Just like, eat all the food, right? I made all this, you're gonna eat it all. I've been in those situations and I went to bed hungry. So I get it. I get it from that standpoint. It's just as you continue to work on yourself, your mindset, and who you are and how you show up, these scenarios and situations become easier and easier to navigate because you're making the right decision for yourself.
For sure.
Any other
Yeah, I
questions?
definitely think limiting or like saying, "Oh, I can't have this," makes it all the worse. Then that's all I want. So it's like I can't just go, I can't have this. I can have a little bit of it. It's not that I can't have it. I can just have a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean that's there's nothing wrong with that either. As long as you're good with it, and you can stay inside the guardrails personally. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not all or nothing. It never has to be.
Yeah, we can't keep a lot of stuff in the house because my husband will eat it all at once. We're like, we
I
actually had we had a pint of ice cream that I managed to keep for like 3 weeks. And I just ate like 2 or 3 spoonfuls a night, and it was perfect. It was all I needed. But as soon as he gets his hands on something like that, it's usually gone.
I
I
know.
mean, he ate a whole pint in one night and then felt like crap the next day.
Yep. Those guys. I used to be like that too. And when Aaron and I earlier in our relationship, I was like, "Hey, don't make brownies because I'll eat all those."
Yep.
But
But we
I've got
can't have a bag of Doritos or chips we cannot have chips in our house because we buy the little tiny bags like one at a time
there you go.
because it's all we can
Well,
handle.
hey, and if you know your boundaries and limits, you got to continue to work through those, and it becomes easier and easier as, as you make better decisions and be okay with the decisions you're making. It doesn't have to be hard. I know, but we like to complicate things sometimes. Is there any other questions? It doesn't have to be obviously on this topic or any other nutritional components that you guys have questions about. No. So what I'll try to do is get a survey out to you guys at the end of this week, Thursday or Friday, just to hit on some more topics and see if there's other things that I may be missing and I'll give you guys an opportunity in that questionnaire that, obviously enter in things that may have more interest on your side or you've been exposed to that we, topics that we can address here. So I'll try to get that out Thursday or Friday. Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys jumping on. If there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Have an awesome week.
You too.
Thanks.